Welcome to Regan's Corner Sports Network for another Regan's Corner Sports podcast here with lovely Emma and me, Josh Regan. So, Emma, how's it going? It's been a little bit of a while. Last time we talked, Judge was a free agent. Now he's back with the New York Yankees. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, he is. It's crazy. I mean, he was really smart. He denied the lesser contract extension from the Yankees earlier on in the season. He ended up getting almost $150 million from waiting, which is really smart of him. It's also the biggest free agent contract in baseball history, which is crazy. He's ahead of Bryce Harper's at $330 million, Corey Seager, Garrett Cole, Manny Machado. So I guess they're expecting Judge to be a big part of their roster this season.
Absolutely. So, kind of going over every single aspect of the contract and stuff like that, he bet it on himself. And San Francisco, where he's from, was calling, okay? They were in that money hunt, okay? My Cubs were never in it. They were never in it. But it was San Francisco or New York. So, what led the Yankees to go and get the cash money out of Judge after that 62 home run season for Aaron to kind of get him into a lifelong Yankee?
Yeah, well, I think the Yankees knew that they needed to keep Aaron Judge because if they didn't, that would have left them with a huge hole in their outfield and a PR disaster for getting rid of one of their best players. But I don't know. He's definitely in Hall of Fame contention. He won the league's most valuable player award. And he was in race for the Triple Crown. He batted a career high this season. And he also led in on-base percentage. So he's definitely an asset to them, and I think that they knew that he wasn't dispensable.
Absolutely. So, do you think if the Giants would have got him, would that be like a curse, kind of like the Bambino for Boston for all those years because of Aaron Judge leaving, and like the Chicago Bulls are feeling right now with Michael Jordan, with their kind of curse that the Bulls from the basketball side of things kind of feeling right now. So you think the Yankees would have fallen into that category as kind of like a cursed team if they let Judge go?
I don't know. I mean, maybe. I think that they definitely have other valuable players on their team, but I think Aaron Judge just adds a cohesiveness that they would definitely be missing without him. So I think it could definitely lead to a curse season for them.
Absolutely. But a surprising turn of events, Wilson Contreras going to the arch rival of the Chicago Cubs with the St. Louis Cardinals. Okay, so Emma, what's your feelings about Wilson going to the Cards?
Honestly, I'm not sure.
That's my feelings too. I want the guy to get his payday. Great Cub, but the arch rival. You could have just gone with the Cincinnati Reds or the Milwaukee Brewers. No, you got to double down, and you went with the St. Louis Cards. Man, that's almost as bad as Caleb Williams won the Heisman.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's a similar feeling when Jacob deGrom signed with the Rangers and left the Mets a little high and dry there.
Absolutely.
How do you feel about
Absolutely.
that?
I don't know. I like that move because then you get Justin Verlander. You still got a great rotation there. Still great position players in New York. And then the Rangers, you have your building block. You have Jacob deGrom, the ace of your staff, kind of building. You could see the Rangers are building towards something. With the Cubs, it's kind of just throwing it here or there. But with the Rangers, you can see a absolute laser kind of focus with their off season. I would say probably an A, just getting Jake Gromling as he's healthy in that building. And Verlander, I mean, he showed last year he's still relatively really good with his Cy Young campaign. So you miss a little bit from that kind of transaction a little bit there, but you still have that rotation. Scherzer and Verlander, that's a great 1-2 punch. Going back almost to their Detroit days where they were pitching together anyway, so they have some chemistry to begin with, and you have for your top two pitchers. So Mets did a great job, even though they let DeGrom go. But, I mean, he was a free agent, so.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, they definitely still have some options for pitchers. I mean, it definitely kind of sucks because great pitching has been a distinction for the Mets for a really long time, and they've developed some of the best pitchers in the game, but also lost some of the best pitchers in the game. Tom Seaver, Nolan Wright, Dwight Gooden, David Cohn. So Jacob deGrom is on that list now. So it just must suck to build a player up and then end up turning over their talent to someone else. And I think the hope was that Scherzer and deGrom would make them unbeatable in the playoffs, but that's definitely still possible if they, with a combination like Scherzer and Verlander.
Absolutely. But kind of getting into, unfortunately, the Wilson Contreras stuff. But the Cubs actually paid somebody. Unfortunately, it was Cody Bellinger because he's had a couple bad seasons with injury, but he's still a high player. But he could also be a high trade piece in the middle part of the year. So it could go either way. I mean, the Cubs could have a nice little bounce back year, depending on if they get Dansby Swanson or Carlos Correa, which I don't think they're going to get either of them. I think the Yankees are going to get Correa, and I think the Giants are going to get Dansby Swanson, or Swanson's going to stay in Atlanta. But the Cubs have been aggressive in the shortstop market this year. So maybe that continues. Maybe it doesn't. Hopefully the kids that they have developed for these trades with Chris Bryant and this and that actually developed this year. Mavis, possibly their starting first baseman, kind of got similar kind of style to Anthony Rizzo. That was another heartbreaker that he landed back with your Yankees. I had high hopes that he would come back home, but he chose the pinstripes, which I don't blame him. The way we cut the cord, I don't blame Anthony Rizzo one bit. But as long as the Cubs don't have a 100-loss record again this year, I'm cool. I'm Gucci, okay? But let's get into what your thoughts on the Cubs actually paying somebody's, okay, with the Cody Bellinger contract and with the Jameson Taillon contract, which that adds a little bit to the rotation, but still have 4 other holes in the rotation.
Yeah, so I mean, Cody Bellinger's a mixed bag because he was such a power on the field, but his injury did throw him back a little bit. Sorry. Yeah, no, in 2019, he had a great season. He won NL MVP, hit 47 home runs, 115 RBIs for the Dodgers, and he got his first Gold Glove. But as soon as he dislocated his shoulder, he has not performed well since then, and he's only gotten 29 home runs in 239 games. So think they're definitely taking a little bit of a risk here. I mean, if his injuries are behind him, then there's definitely potential for him to be a great player, and he's still a great defender and a great base runner. So like those things they know they have, but I guess it all just depends on where his injuries lie.
Absolutely. It depends where his injuries lie. Because if, let's say, um, he's back, he's good, this is kind of what he's doing, this with everything on those lines. Um, I just don't know what the Cubs can super benefit from even having a 30 guy and nothing else because the pitching
Mhm.
isn't there. Tyone's a little bit better situation because he had a great year last year. He's going to be a third kind of middle rotation kind of guy where a little change of pace. Let's see if Hendricks and Stroman can actually do well this year as the 1-2. And then you just find whoever's in the back of that rotation, maybe bring a couple minor league guys up and see how they do and develop. But pitching wise, the market's already kind of thin because Rodon, if you got Tyone and Rodon, uh, you have a good, decent rotation right there with Hendricks, Stroman, Rodon, Tyone. But they didn't. And just having one pitcher with a bullpen that's kind of suspect as well. And pitching is the name of the game. Name of the game in baseball. And you just don't have it when you're talking about the Cubs. I mean, and plus, it's probably a good thing, Marquee Network, that I can't watch it for the most part because it's going to be brutal again for the Chicago Cubs. But, I mean, speaking of brutal situations there, Emma, in Russia, finally, Brittany
Mhm.
Grinder is home, but there's a little caveat on it, as you know, and stuff like that. The Marine is still there.
Mhm.
Um, so, what's kind of your initial thoughts with the Brittany Grinder coming home situation and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I have mixed feelings about it because I think it is a win for the US in that we did get Brittany Griner home, but I I don't know. I not that in any way I'm a politician, but I just feel like personally the deal that was made wasn't fair because it's trading someone for like an oil or less of weed versus a convicted arms dealer and like conspiring terrorist. So I just think that like objectively, like if it took if it took giving him to get Brittany Griner, then I think there's really little hope for being able to negotiate to get Paul Whelan, which is really sad because he's been there for 4 years and he's watched two deals be made before him. But I just think that Russia takes crime so seriously that espionage is going to be a lot more difficult to trade for. And I'm scared that we're going to end up having to give back someone really dangerous. So then it's not going to be feasible to do that.
Absolutely. Just the actual rule of the oil and stuff like that in Russia is 4 months in prison, not 9 years in prison.
Mm,
So just looking at the legal aspect of everything, it just seems like Russia is using Americans as pawns, as a
yeah,
chessboard and this and that and everything like that. And like you said, Paul Willing, um, he's probably their king of the pawns, to be honest
yeah,
with you. Nothing against whatever, but that's probably what that's going through their sick minds over there in Russia and stuff like that. Because, like you said, an arms dealer who's tried to be whatever with America and stuff like that for a basketball player who was using oil. So that's not a no. That's an absolute not even trade. I'm glad Brittany's back. Okay, and I'm glad we got a hostage back from Russia, but like you said, it's a mixed bag because Paul needs to be back too. It should be 1 for 2 in that situation, and I think that's what
Yeah.
took it so
Um,
long.
yeah, the fact that it took so long too, that's why I think it's so discouraging for Paul. And like, I don't know how to explain this right, but I feel like the US trying to negotiate with Russia, it's like if you're negotiating with a crazy person, then you're going to have to go up to their level of crazy, or else they're just going to say no and it'll be over. So, like, the thing is that the US is kind of in a position where they have to agree to these trades for like very disproportionate crimes, because if not, Russia will just say no and then it's over.
Absolutely, and I might get canceled for this next sentence.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm right in line here. I'm
so
kind
Emma,
of
but as you guys at home, okay, as fantasy football owners, I get it. This is a bad comparison, but um, it's almost like with his prisoners, Putin is playing fantasy football with his trades. To be honest with you, because as you could see with all like when you're talking about fantasy trades, you always have that one guy in your league that just stingy to whoever he has. Like let's say he has a Derrick Henry. Oh, you better bring the farm with this guy, okay? And I feel like that's kind of what the negotiating is at the moment here with Brittany Griner taking it about almost a year for her to get to this point free wise. It shouldn't be this way, but it seems like this is kind of what the negotiation kind of pattern is with Putin, to be honest with you, with the prisoners, with this, with that. So, yeah,
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that. Yeah, oh gosh. It's gonna be a tough one for Paul Whelan because he got sentenced to 16 years, and which also, like, if Brittany Griner got sentenced 9 years for that, then don't you think espionage would be way more than 16? I just feel like maybe some of them are just like by situation, they just, but
right.
yeah, um yeah, no, it's really upsetting. Paul was a police officer for 12 years. He was in the Marines for 5 years. So I think it's tough when you see someone give so much to their country and there's nothing that their country can give back to them. And I don't know how much of it is that like it's not possible from the United States side, or if it's not possible because of Russia's side of things, and that's not really my place to say, but it is just a sad situation overall.
It's a sad situation. And then we can talk about the basketball aspect with Brittany Grinder, with the mental aspect and everything like that. So, what's it going to be like with the PTSD and stuff like that when it was a trumped up charge to begin um, with the oils and stuff like that? Um, and and also the other aspect of the whole situation with Brittany Griner is what was the kind of policy going into it, and how did she kind of learn the policy? Was it even a slip in there, or what kind of situation was there? And was there a wheeling kind of negotiation before Griner, and then Russia kind of uh, safe? I don't know the whole situation, so
Hmm.
but it sounds really, really kind of fishy. The whole thing, um, kind
Yeah,
of
I'm not the whole thing either, but I think every aspect of it is definitely politically motivated in some way, which we might not find out in what way until a little bit later down the line. But for now, it is a victory in that Brittany Griner is home. So hopefully we will be seeing her again in basketball. might be a little bit difficult to get back into because she probably didn't have a lot of good training gyms in Russian prison, but we'll see.
Or she had the best, because you can
Yeah,
get
honestly,
built in
go
a
either way.
yard.
She was balling.
Absolutely. But since she's home, we can kind of kid around with her about it, but it was a very sad situation.
Yeah, it was really bad.
So really bad. But kind of going back to the New York Yankees of it all, what do you grade your New York Yankees so far in the offseason for baseball?
So far in the off season, I think they're doing pretty good. I mean, I think the Yankees have always been pretty solid. I think they'll always stay pretty solid. I think that they always have pretty good playoff contention. Um, I'm definitely seeing more faults in teams like the Cubs, where I feel like they're in a little bit more of a building phase, and they're definitely gonna have to dish out more money before um, they're gonna be as competitive, I guess, as some of the other teams. But I think the Yankees are pretty well built right now. So
Absolutely. So, who do you give, for the most part, your dub for this week for the winter meetings, the beginning of this winter meetings and stuff like that? Who do you give your dub to?
honestly, I mean, I know we talked about it, but I have to just give it to Aaron Judge himself just for the sheer amount of money that he got from that contract, because he's also like he's not that far behind the biggest contracts ever, which those were contract extensions and not free agency. But I mean, just that amount of money, I think Aaron Judge is definitely walking away a winner. Even if he doesn't do well, he's still rich. So
Absolutely. So, please describe down below. And every Monday, there's going to be a new episode of Regan's Corner for you guys at home. Okay, we might take a little break because the holiday season. So, we also have our shops located down below as well for the merch there, Emma. So, stay froggy, my friend. And always thanks to Emma Felton for coming on to Regan's Corner. So,
of course, thank you for having me.